Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 8 here at Trackstars TS2 Touring Car Series. We are live for the High Speed 150. First of the Enduros here for the TS2 boys. Well, we could say mini Enduros, because they're not Enduros. The Enduros is next week for the main series, which we actually will see some of the drivers here in TS2 doubling up as well. So, good exposure for them to get into a bit of the long series running. But 35 laps here around high speed ring, one go, one compulsory pit stop. I'm keen to see how this is going to go, Nick, my friend. What are you prepared for in this one?
Yes, good evening to you, Ryan, again. Back in the commentary box after a little break away from TS3, but yeah, we're excited to have TS2 back on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this all pans out. I will say, though, the lap times are considerably slower than the TS3 cars from what I've noticed in both pre-qualifying and even in the practice session. So you really have to double up with someone and really just try and get that slipstream and work that to your full advantage, because if you don't, you're going to be setting 1 minute 4 lap times, and if you have TS3 cars in the mix with the TS2 cars, they will just run circles around you, because those cars are insanely quick with the less downforce package that the 2008 model cars have. But as you said, there are drivers doubling up, doing the TS2 and the main series Enduro. That is happening next weekend, as we have a few drivers listed there. We have D Mario, who's running under FR Racing. He'll be making the full-time step onto the grid and the main series from this round onwards. After the high speed ring, he'll be full-time in the ISA Esports Lexus RCF. We also have, from what I can see in this field here, we have Jarman Dalitz as well, who's running under It's Racing Esports under his own team. He's actually jump teams here, Ryan. So a bit of a moment there for you guys within your team, just to say to him, well, he was looking to put his hand up in the to do some enduro running with you guys, but he actually offered himself up to WRT there. So some big news coming out of It's Racing Esports.
Yeah, he was listed to be partnered with me and Matt for next weekend and Bathurst in the 1500. But yeah, as you said, he listed himself up. WRT were struggling for a second driver for Nightwalker's car, I believe. So, or it was the other one. I can't remember. I need to double down on that one. I haven't kind of really kept up with the entries. But yeah, I thought, you're part of me. I go, but look, at the end of the day, I'm like, if you want to race with them, go right ahead. And he's jumped on board with them, so they'll run a two-driver car team in that one for the Enduro series. But yeah, it's good. He really likes the Enduros, and obviously, he doesn't race, obviously, due to being a previous champion. He's only restricted to a certain amount of rounds, so same as yourself. Yeah, so I think he's going to be an interesting sight to see there, being obviously, potentially on the track at the same time. But being in a different car, where I'm going to be repping his colours and he's going to be in the either the bright pink or the bright yellow. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But the other good one is we have Sandwith here doubling up in actually one of your cars with Chris Lashbrook alongside him in the number 11. So I'm actually kind of keen to see on what he's potentially going to bring to the table for you guys. So obviously, he's been quick straight out of the box, and he current championship leader in the Honda, so it's good to see. But another one as well, we do have Aussie Taylor for WTC Racing as well for the Enduros.
Yeah,
but
he was actually lined up to race with Andrew Scott.
Unfortunately, yes, but
he had unfortunately had some work commitments on the eve of the high speed ring 500. But going back to your point with Sandwith, we actually have his main series driver joining us in the commentary box for the TS2 touring cars. It's Chris Lashbrook has joined us here for a second outing in the commentary box for TS2. So it's a good evening to you, Chris. And yeah, what can you tell us about Sandwith? He's as we know that he's a TS2 championship leader. He drives the Honda. So what is working with him been like for you? Obviously adapting from one manufacturer to another.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Yeah, well, Sandwith has proven to be very adaptable throughout lots of different cars. Racing with him in GT Champions recently was huge honour, and he's very adaptable to all types of machinery. So yeah, Sandwith will be very good to work with for me personally. I have a great relationship with him as well. So throughout our practice so far, he seems to be pretty handy with the Lexus at the moment. He's part of the Honda faithful, so for him to jump in with me is awesome. And yeah, he seems to be adapting quite well. I'm sure even if he was a main series full-time driver, he would be able to hold his own. So yeah, now very fortunate to have him, and yeah, looking to push the number 11 MSR up to get a good result coming up to the high-speed Ring 500.
Absolutely, and as we mentioned, as mentioned in the Trackstars Discord, that drivers that do participate in the TS2 touring cars here at high speed for this high speed 150, pretty much get themselves an hour's worth of running of added practice time next to their name. So all they have to do is throughout the week they have to attend one of the 3 allocated practice sessions that is hosted by Trackstars Racing Series for the practice sessions in practice 1 on Monday, and practice 2 on Wednesday, and practice 3 on Thursdays. So any of these drivers that are racing in main series or being co-drivers as main series for the main series team, they get themselves a free 1 hour pass thanks to their running in TS2 tonight. So as we said, we have Di Mario joining us in there. We also have Curry, who'll be driving alongside Ward in car number 20, and I believe Chris Burke as well will be driving alongside Craig Harcourt as well in the number 22. So some names coming in, some names that we know that are joining us here in the Trackstars Racing Series TS2 grid that join us in the main series for the Enduros.
There you go, Pat. I'll gladly show you my setup screen because this is the TS3 car. Enjoy that setup, mate. You can use that one.
I had to blink twice there, Ryan, a bit, to be honest. I thought I had to do a quick screen grab there.
He's like, open the setup screen, I dare you, but didn't realise that I had the TS3 car selected. But, mate, that setup screen for my main car, no one's going to be able to see that, except for myself, Matt, Ridwan, and Andrew. So, no one sees that one until the end of the season. We'll send you that setup then and see how you like it. But, no, it's going to be good. I think we're going to have to start here. We were waiting for Green because he actually unfortunately dropped out here. So I think we will be ready to go. If he does end up getting back in, he'll start from the back of the grid. But realistically, it's high-speed ring, mate. Anything's possible. You can jump back 35 laps. 1 compulsory pit stop tyre change here for a set of racing medium tyres. They can only use mediums. So, yeah, if they don't stop, then they will get a penalty. But, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Before we go into the race, who do we have our predictions on, ladies and gents? I think myself, I can't really predict it. But, you know, I've got to go for Dallas, but I'm really going to go left field here. I'm going to go for Purdon. You know, we've seen Purdon. Speaking of which, he's actually had a bit of a livery change. I'm seeing here on the right hand side, but you know, he's had a bit down in the dumps lately. But yeah, he's, from what I can see in practice, he's got a decent time. So yeah, it'd be good to see on what he might be capable of here. You know, he might have a good run. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that one, Nick?
Yeah, obviously in regards to livery, he showed me that earlier in the week. He did use his 1 livery compulsory change for the rest of the season, and I will say it is an absolutely spectacular livery. Seeing that in the showroom, and it's great to see. He's still got it. He's still got the capabilities of producing some awesome liveries. So it's good on to him and PHE Sports. I guess in regards of qualifying, I'm gonna have to go left field here. I might actually give it to Crestdale for MSI. I mean, not trying to be biased or anything, but I think this is the race where Crestdale really needs to capitalize on a bit of a bad luck running that he's had over the last few rounds. He didn't have a great round last time out at Laguna, and even the round before. I just can't remember what the last track it was, but I think the last 2-3 rounds he's just been struggling. Yeah, he's just been struggling a little bit just to get himself balanced and get that car working for him, just compared to the likes of Sandwith, likes of Lamb and Aussie Taylor. So out of those drivers, Lamb and Taylor have actually managed to benefit a little bit more in that Lexus compared to Crestdale. But if there's one track and there's one race that Crestdale can really back himself and really put himself up towards the front, at least on qualifying, I think it definitely can be Crestdale.
Yeah, I think he's been very unfortunate there. As you said, he copped the short end of the stick at Daytona, unfortunately, which was before Laguna, and then obviously the short stick again at Laguna. But yeah, that happens to every driver essentially. You know, you've seen it myself in 2021 and 2022 as well. But you know, I support it. But what are your thoughts, Chris, on that one? Who are you going to go for this one?
Yeah, I was about to put my hat in the ring for Chris Dale as well. Yeah, considering his performance here in the most recent Enduros here at High Speed Ring, incredibly impressive. I suggest everyone go watch that stream back for the last endurance race we had here. It was an absolutely fantastic showing here by Chris Dale, and yeah, absolutely right. The last few rounds, he's just fallen off just a little bit in terms of, you know, getting to tune with his car and the other competitors, and yeah, he's going to need a really big bounce back here and yeah, cements his position for championship contention. And yeah, it's finally nice to go to a track where the Lexus may actually be the favoured car, believe it or not, for a track like this at High Speed Ring. So yeah, my pick would have to be Chris Dale as well. MSR bias might seem pretty obvious at the moment, but yeah, I think anyone driving a Lexus for this track will be like, oh, well, we're the favourite car coming into this racetrack here with the straight line speed and other capabilities of the beast itself. So, yeah, I presume, I would like to see Chris Dale to, get some points back on LJ. Lamb's absent tonight as well, which is unfortunate for the man in a Lexus car as well. So, we'll keep an eye on Chris Dale and Sandwith in this race, as they're the two guys at the front competing for overall honours at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. That's a massive one there that you did just bring up with KH Lamb. He jumped into P2 in the championship as well, so he's doing a fantastic job there in that privateer red Lexus there. As I said it, Purden went to the top, but then Mitch Curry looked to jump on the back of two cars there for the slipstream and pulled out what was nearly 4/10 of a gap to the car in front. So to the car behind him in I think it's pretty sure it's Ben Purden. But then we got Aussie Taylor here up in P3, who's currently on a PB. He's on to go to P2. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But Jarman Dalitz, haven't seen him on the grid for a little bit. I think last time we saw him was round 2. So good to see him back in that 95 there. You can see it's glitching. You know, the old thing, GT7 in bends. We see it at Daytona as well. So don't be phased by the glitching. It does happen. It is part of the game. But Mario jumping up into P3 here. I think big news for us. You know, we're all main drivers. Having Mario on the grid as of next round. Obviously, this will be his last round in TS2. I'm curious to see on what he can bring to the table. You know, he's going to be probably working with the Ribline, so we'll wait and see on how that one goes. But it's going to be pretty massive signing there for ISA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he brings a lot of credibility next to his name. He's competed in a lot of league series, and any forms of league racing he does, he always brings that aggressive nature of like hard racing and really just trying to really maximize the potential of a race car itself. So whether it's high tire wear or a high fuel race, it's all about him just really pushing the car to the absolute limit until it's right up to the threshold where you can't push it anymore. You start doing 360 no scopes. But for DP Mario, he's a very good driver. He's done very well to represent FR Racing and get himself that main series eligibility credentials next to his name. So it was really good for him just to finally get that at Road Atlanta, I believe was when he got his credentials there. So he's doing well, sitting P5, as we saw Purton actually jump up to P2. So if this stays the way it is, Purton's on for a really, really good start in his campaign with his brand new colours for PH Esports, and that's a solid time for Purton.
I'll just jump in here. Keep a look, if you can, on the relative between each position. It's giving me real Supercar Series vibes. So we've got less than half a tenth between Dalitz and Purden. Less than half a tenth between Dalitz and Aussie. Same again, P4 to 5. Just over a tenth between 5 and 6. And just over between 6 and 7. And then 0.006 between Burke and Crestdale. So Mackenzie and Hedges as well. Severy, Hall, top 12 was separated by 7/10. So that is absolutely crazy. And in saying that, Purden nearly knocks off Curry.
Yeah, he almost gets that better lap time that he's got there. So this is a different kind of driver that we saw from a Laguna Seca. He was just here with his mate in Hedges, just having a good time, just trying to score some good points. But he's come through, has skipped the pre-qualifying, and has gone straight into it and say, you know what, I'm here to have some fun and I'm here to challenge. But I've never thought I'd challenge pole position. He's sitting in P2 very nicely there. Dallas in third place on his return. Aussie and DP Mario stay the same there. We have Sam with the first of the Hondas, so the Hondas really not going to really favour themselves around this track here, and obviously he's going to need a lot of help from other drivers around him, whether it's in front or behind, just to really give him that bit of push, because the Honda does really struggle with its unfortunate weight differential compared to the Lexus and the Nissan, as we see Van Vuveren just go off there and still sitting in 14th place. Actually, him and his teammate worked very well together in pre-qualifying. It was only with about 3 minutes to go they pushed themselves from 6th and 7th place all the way up to P3 and 4 at the end of that pre-qualifying session, thanks to the teamwork that they did together to get themselves into top split.
Yeah, we're seeing some drivers here at the moment bunching up a little bit, just going through turn 3 and turn 4 before, so yeah, there's a chance here we might see a bit of gamesmanship and a bit of bump drafting as well, maybe between some teammates and competitors alike. So, as we can see, you know, the traffic here with Dallas and Mackenzie already can play a major role in whether getting a lap time or not. So, yeah, you might favour some clear air, but if you're around in proximity to some people, you might be able to work together and get a lap time together. But yeah, very bunched up here, large group of cars at the moment, approaching turn 3 and 4. So yeah, they can interfere with your overall result, but some people might be able to make it work and yeah, gain a lot of time.
Well, you have to also consider as well, they're in close proximity to each other, so I'm just surprised how the dirty air is not really affecting these drivers. They actually managed to cope with it very nicely, and they're still holding on to some good positions there. They're not really losing the rear end. I guess the only part of the track you would lose that downforce would be through the turns 3 and 4, as we see both Sandwith and Crestdale improve on their lap time. Sandwith's just still ahead of his championship rival in Crestdale in 5th and 7th place. But yeah, I'm just surprised that the cars are not really reacting how we normally see them on a proper real world circuit.
Yeah, I'm probably leaning towards the same thing as well. I think it may have to do with a lot of the high speed kind of thing as well. They've got a headwind going into turn 2, so that may help them. And then obviously crosswind into 3, headwind into 4. So the wind probably doesn't kind of affect it as much as what we would think, but the dirty air mixed with wind.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there. Just to see Sandwich impede. Looks like he impeded one of the drivers there going into the tunnel. I'm not so sure who that was, but you could just see there. Looks like someone. I think he may have just gotten away with it. He did over DP Mario. So, but he's obviously just backed out of it. I feel like that's his qualifying session over. Unfortunately for Purton's case, he's just picked up a 1.5 second penalty next to his name there, so unfortunately that's going to be his qualifying session over. Aussie Taylor just improved his lap time to go up into P4. D Mario has dropped down to P7. Crestdale in 7th place. Burke inside the top 8. So actually, I think the biggest dark horse here is none of us actually predicted Mitch Curry to take out provisional pole position. It only took him to the final hour of the deadline for registrations for him to say, you know what, I'm coming to race here tonight, fellas, and I'm gonna have some fun. And so far, he's doing a good job on pole position, but only just here, Ryan. Only 0.059 between himself and the PH Esports driver in Purton. That's absolutely incredible pace that both Purton is able to produce and really get himself close towards Curry's lap time.
Yeah, definitely, you know, and even Dallas is there as well, so 0.034 behind Purton, so he's still within a tenth of that one as they're coming through now for their final lap, finishing that one off, checkered flag. So, but yeah, Purton is really close to Curry, but you know, I've been talking to Curry during the week. He's actually had an operation during the week, and he probably wasn't feeling the best. And you know, it come to Sunday, and he thought, screw it, I'm going to race, because we haven't actually seen Curry for a few rounds. So I'm
No,
actually,
it's been a while.
yeah. So it's been a while since we've seen him, and I think he does like this track. And I think what another thing is, he's probably just getting himself to the terms of the track in relation for next weekend as well. So, being this one, it's 35 laps. That's one of the stints for the 500. So it can definitely benefit him as well for this one, as well as the other co-drivers too. So I think really, we're seeing quite a few co-drivers here, that's just going to get their head around, racing in packs and what they can kind of expect next weekend. But yeah, Curry takes out that pole position there for this high-speed 150 here. But mate, those times between the cars, there's hardly anything between them.
As I notice here, we've got the Formula 2 and Formula 3 champions of the season just passed, filling out the front row here, and really, really impressed with the GTR's performance here. I kind of hyped up the Lexus before, but yeah, the GTR's come to play here at High Speed Ring as Curry and Purton, an unlikely player, fills out the front row. He will be absolutely stoked with that, Nick.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He's definitely keen to get himself up there, at least on to the top 5 or on a podium, because he's really been hoping to get himself into that main series eligibility. Because if he's able to do that, he could potentially even throw in an entry into the main series if that all goes into fruition. So you never know if his hope runs the way it is and runs very well in good luck form. At the end of lap 35, he could be well inside that top 5. But I guess in a way, it's all about strategy. These drivers are not really used to making pit stops. Obviously, you've got your veteran drivers such as Curry, such as Dalit, such as some of the drivers that did compete in the Formula 2, where they did have to do compulsory pit stops. The Formula 3 drivers didn't have to. So you might see a couple of drivers maybe just change the way they approach this race, whether in a pack, maybe go for an early undercut, or whether you just decide to run long. If you're in the case of Curry or Purton, if you pull away, you might be able to run yourself a little bit of an overcut amongst the rest of the field there. But we'll see. And this will also be a good sign for main series drivers as well, just to see if the undercut is actually stronger than a potential overcut these drivers could do.
Just with that pitting point you made as well, Nick, I think it's an underrated point to make about pit entry and pit exit. Obviously, entering is off to the left-hand side, whereas the preferable racing line is up on the high side on the right. So getting into pit lane smoothly without getting any penalties or impeding or getting into any carnage is not only important, but as you exit in pit lane, there's going to be quite a speed differential between exiting pit lane and other cars on tracks. So even though an overcut may work, if you're rejoining the track with other competitors, it's going to take you up until we get to about turn 3 to get up to speed with the rest of the field. So there's plenty to consider with the mandatory pit stop.
Absolutely right. So we've finally got one of our drivers in that missed out qualifying, Green. So he'll be down the back in 15th to last place. We know Green's performances. We know his racecraft. You've raced with him in TS2 in the early seasons of the TS2 touring cars, Chris. So what do you think Green could do from the back in 15th place? Do you think he might go early? Do you think he might go for an early undercut, obviously being down the order, and just really go for that clean air and just really put in those good laps that he missed out in qualifying? He might be able to get some good laps in, and then at the end of it, he could find himself inside that top 8.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's being at the back of the field there. He's going to have a rather large toe already, competing with all the other competitors around him. So it's an interesting one to make. I mean, if it was him, I'd be running probably as long as he can to try take advantage of the toe with some other competitors. And keep in mind, Green has been quite rapid, as we've seen in the rounds he's competed in so far in TS2. So I would assume he would run long. If he tries the undercut, he's going to come out of fresh air, but he won't have the benefit of the toe and the slip, which is proving to be such a big point in both even qualifying, let alone the racing itself. So yeah, I'll presume an overcut, Nick, and he'll look to maximise his result and try at least get into top split for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. As we do have a split 2 race running underway. We're on lap 11 of 20, a shortened race for the Split 2 boys. It is Kentwell leading the way in flyboarding. They've both just all done their compulsory pit stops at the end, or at the start of lap 11, and Kentwell still leading the way ahead of Ruddy, but only by only like less than half a second between those two drivers. So the Nissan and Lexus will be duking it out for the victory tonight. With Paul Rudd in second place and Gordok in third place. So 3 drivers in Split 2, but we have a full field of drivers here in the top split of Trackstars TS2. So I believe it's that time again. It's that time again, Ryan. Who are we going to be putting our Monopoly money on for this endurance race? It's very hard to predict a winner, especially with a 6 corner track layout that is high speed ring. But who do you think could take out line honours at the end of this 35 lap race?
Look, I seen Purden put it on P2. I'm going to stick with my big buddy in Purden. He's been a bit out of it at the moment, but he's come in with a strong showing here, and if he stays out of trouble, I think he can stick on the back of Curry there, and he should be good to come through. But yeah, I'm going to stay with Purden for this one.
Wonder what actually Chris thinks. What does he think? Who could be the potential victor out of these 35 laps? Long race to go. Strategies to play. People bump drafting. People just going side by side racing. Maybe not learning about that bump drafting racecraft. So, who do you think could come out on top at the end of these 35 laps?
Pretty safe bet you've gone with so far there, Ryan, with Purton. He's put it on the front row. I thought it was a bold guess before, but hey, he's put it right up there with a very experienced racer there in Curry. So I'm going to stick with Crestale. I want to keep it consistent. The racing is going to be very different than pure lap speed. So I'm going to stick with Crestale. I'm sure his experience and his versatility at tracks like this will give him a bit of an upper hand. But I'm very, very keen to see how this Purton versus Curry situation plays out in the first few laps. Keep in mind, Curry's very experienced and accustomed to these type of races and racing in proximity. All these things we come to expect of someone like him, whereas Purton is a youngster, won Formula 3 last season and put on really good performances, continue to improve. So I understand that sometimes nerves and that sort of thing can play a big factor. It did for me when I got my 2 P2 positions at Seaside earlier this season in TS2. So hopefully, he can stay composed and keep punching out those lap times as we've seen with already front row starts. So yeah, I'm still going to put my money on Crestale, but I'm very excited to see how Purton performs tonight.
Absolutely. So as we cut towards the front, it is the race start, the only race here in Trackstars TS2. It is the 35 lapper high speed ring 1/5. We have Curry on pole position, Purton next to him. So Nissan versus Lexus, RSR versus PHE Sports. The lights are out and we are green flag racing. A nice solid start by everyone. A lot of congestion in the background there. Looks like Crestale's been able to make a couple of moves there, especially on Sandwith there. Sandwith didn't look like he got a good start in that FR Honda, but his teammate in the Nissan, with DP Mario going for a 3 wide move into turn 1. But this is the crucial corner here, Ryan. Just like we saw in TS3, how will these guys execute turn 2 on the opening lap there? Dallas has lost the position to Aussie Taylor. Everyone just rolling off the throttle there, going in through to turn 1. A little bit of carnage to the back there, but nothing too major, and everyone's done a fantastic job. As we see something coming from one of our drivers here, it is Sandwith around the outside there. Jeez. Brilliant move there. Well spotted there, Ryan. A great move there by Sandwith to get himself up into P4. So well done there. Looks like, unfortunately, Crestale's lost out of that on the opening lap there. He's dropped down to P9, unfortunately. And I see, he's dropped down to P9. So very unlucky start there for him. Not what he wants when he's trying to follow. For Mitch Curry in P1. Purton still holding pretty in P2, just 0.7 behind Curry is Purton. Then Aussie Taylor right behind him in that WTC green Lexus RCF. And Bajaman Dalit, who is a veteran in the Trackstars Touring Cars, a 4-time champion in the Touring Car Series. He knows what to do when it comes to this kind of situation. As there's a bit of rubbing in between the two boys there. Dallas has just gone ahead back of Sandwith there, so a little bit of biff and barge, a little bit of trying to find.
Oh, Dallas has damage there, right front. So I think when he got a little bit shoved into the wall there by Aussie, Probably picked up a bit of aero damage there, but he's holding Mario at the moment here. Mario's actually come back through the field, lost a couple of positions. That damage is really hindering him there.
Mario might have an inside line here as he approaches Jarman up to the last corner here, so he's right on his rear bumper here. Does he make a move here? But he's also defending from Sandwich right behind him as well, so the toe and the slipstream playing a massive factor here already, as if Mario's close enough. Sagged off just a little bit. Looks like Sandwich is right behind Mario there as well.
Sandwith, I think, will definitely be working with Mario, obviously being in the same camp in FR Racing. Obviously, two different manufacturers that FR are holding through, but obviously Sandwith managed to carry that Honda NSX as a privateer. The former It's Racing Esports Honda gone now to FR Racing and FR Racing colours. He's doing a good job, just trying to help his teammate out, just push him a little bit up towards the front there, because not far behind them is Hedges, and as well as the other FR teammate in Hall, the American, joining us here tonight in the early hours of the US of A, and he's very committed to doing some racing here. Put on a great performance at Laguna Seca, getting himself P3, P4 overall in that event. Did a very nice job in the dried up lakes in California, but he's holding on to P4. Oh, he's really riding that wall there. He just picks up a half-second penalty there. That's exactly what happens when you get yourself stuck on the barriers there. And I've done that before in the practice sessions for the main series, and you get stuck on that ride, and there's no point of return. You can't take the car off the barrier.
I can't get off. If I get stuck, I physically can't get off. Like, I try and pull left, I get off the accelerator, and it sticks me. Like, anything I try and do, it stays there. I honestly don't know how to take it off, but it is a little bit glitchy here with some cars getting really close to the wall there, but that's because they do run so low to the ground. So what happens is, obviously, they're full of fuel, 60 litres, they're roughly about 52 now, running so close to the ground, a lot of pressure on that right side of the car, it throws sparks. So it'll happen, but cars will get penalised if they run alongside the wall, which we've seen from Hall here. So, you know, we have heard people from TS3 and stuff saying, you know, you can ride it here, you can ride it there. Mate, if you ride it, you get penalised. It's as simple as that. So, you know...
Aussie does
what a
nice
move there by Aussie Taylor. A bit of a switchback, it looks like, maybe. Started on the... Oh, he had the inside here, and then he just rode him. Yeah, that was such a... Wow. That was impressive. That's a big move by Taylor there. And he seemed like he's got the pace in race trim here already, so... despite getting tangled there with Dalitz and Mario and Sandwith, he's managed to climb into P2. Ooh, as again the... Wow.
Yeah, saw a bit of blue smoke there coming on the rear of that WTC Lexus there. So a little bit of that bump draft working with Burton. As we see Dalitz going for an inside move on the PHE Sports driver, just shoves him off a little bit wide. Can he go back for the switchback? He does. So Burton holds the inside line. Does it give him enough space on the outside? He does. So Dallas just drops back to P4, but that gives Aussie a little bit of breathing room now. So a few car lanes extra on between 420 and car 91 there. So now Aussie Taylor 1.1 behind Mitch Curry. But all these drivers have to remember they do have to make a pit stop very shortly there. Dalitz still holds it around the outside. DP Mario almost went for an inside move there, almost made it work perfectly to his name there, but unfortunately still holds on to P5. One of the biggest movers so far we're seeing from 15th to 8th place is Green for CP Motorsports. That's a great impressive start by the CP driver. We're only on lap 6. We're not even 30 laps to go until the end of this race, and he's already made up so many positions.
Yeah, we never counted out Green for this one. He's a bit of an underdog, you know. He came in for his race. He makes a fantastic move there on Burke. On the inside there to the outside, gets the switchback done, a P8, 1.4 seconds to Hedges. I'm quite impressed with Hedges too, you know, he hasn't really been on the pace either. The other, obviously, PHE Sports car, but running an alternate paint scheme there to Purdon, but yeah, I think don't count Green out for this, as you said, 30 to go. He only 5.2 seconds off the lead, but he's setting consistent laps at the moment, so if he grabs onto the back of Hedges, then we'll see him fighting for this battle pack up here, which I think is P2, which they've actually caught.
Yeah, P2.
So Dalitz has actually made a move on Purdon there, which we missed, and then we've got Mario pushing on. But, you know, Sandwith is clutching onto this battle of cars with strings here. You don't want to lose that. at all.
I just saw Jarman just try to go on the outside, and he's just lost 2 positions for doing that. So that's not what the veteran should be doing. He should know a little bit better than that, because if you lose that slipstream, you just drop to the back there. Like we just saw there, he was trying to make a move on Aussie Taylor around the outside of turn 1, and then we just saw a gaggle of cars, the PH and the FR racing car, just take that to their advantage. Jarman goes from fighting from P2 down to 5th place and almost loses a position to Sandwith in a P6 there, doing a very impressive job in the Honda NSX in car 15. So not the best car for this track, but he's making it work to perfection, and he's running it nicely in P6. And I think as well, the most important thing is he's actually in a pack, Ryan. Like when you're in a pack, you can benefit from that slipstream. That Honda, from experience in the main series last year, that Honda can really work in a pack in slipstream.
Yeah, obviously that is an old ETH Racing Esports Honda, so it's got good luck here. So, we won here last year. Obviously, Matt made a last minute position change on you here going around turn 3 around the outside. So, he's definitely showing, sounds like someone just annihilated the wall there, but I think that was just a bit of netcode. So, but yeah, if you stay in a pack, you're good, but as soon as you lose it, obviously, as you said earlier, I think it's carrying about 32 extra kilos of ballast. So it's to keep it in that balance of performance there, obviously being MR. So yeah, it's Sandwich gets a wall on the exit there of 4. Wow, that's going to drop him all the way back there to probably roughly about P11, I think.
And Green has now played himself here as he'll take 6th position here from Sandwich, so a mega job from the rear of the grid already. And as soon as if he can get in touch here with his top 5 here in Dallas, then he's suddenly just become a major player in to get a really good result here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now Sandwith's got this penalty next to his name. Once he serves it, he's going to drop all the way back just outside of the top 10. Is Crestdale right back in 11th place there. So even if he does serve this penalty, I think the most viable strategy for Sandwith, if I was in his position, I would pit right now. You serve that penalty, get some clean air, and just try to really put in those hard laps. But I think the only reason why he's not pitting, he wouldn't want to pit early, is because of that Honda ballast that really affects him. So I think he just needs to work with someone. So if it was any other car like the Nissan or Lexus, I would definitely benefit from doing a really big undercut. But I think maybe in Sandwith's case, it might be better for him just to stay with someone until they pit as well.
Yeah, it does struggle on the top end as well in comparison to the Lexus and Nissan. Better on the brakes, but yeah, top end is a real struggle. I noticed that mainly last year. We had to really tune the car up to get it there. As we say that, Dallas.
Speaking of undercuts, it is Jarman Dallas becoming the first man to come into the pit lane, so he leaves that battle pack that he was vigorously fighting for P3. Potentially was P2 at the start, but he's gone into the pit lane now, exiting in 15th place as we see Mason from Kiwi pit lane in that Honda NSX as well in 14th place, and Jarman Dallas just jumps into the back of Mason in 15th place. As we saw, another name that we haven't seen in the top split is actually Severi. So we're now seeing 2 CP Motorsport cars. This is actually Severi's first outing in the TS2 top split, so that's a very nice credential there next to his name. So well done to Severi getting that split 2 victory at Laguna Seca last time out, and that earned him an eligibility to race in this event tonight in the top split, so good on him. And for CP Motorsports, but we have Van Vuveren attacking Mackenzie in 10th place. Sandwith still holds on to P9, so he didn't lose too many more positions there, but he's lost out a cup, but he's lost out a big chunk when he was battling for 5th place. So still early stages. Jarman Dallas is the first of the pit stop runners. He's only 21 seconds behind Curry, so I mean, he's not too far from Mason. He knows the Honda lacks that top end speed, so I would say in a way it could help him a little bit claw some time in between himself and Curry, and not only just Curry, but potentially Purton and Aussie for P2.
Yeah, I noticed that before, Nick, when he came out of pit lane, that Mason was lingering there.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to cut you off there. It's a huge crash involving, I believe, one of the Kiwi pit lane drivers at Mackenzie. Big crash going into turn 2. Oh! Oh, he got a massive hit.
Holy
Who was that gave him the
moly.
hit
That was
there?
a
That was
massive
Hall.
shunts there by Hall, I think. Yes.
Holy. Jeez.
Oh, that
You
is
can notice he was
very...
hard on the brakes there. He knew straight away that he missed it. You can see the brake
my.
pedal applied full pressure right as it was too late. So, wow, that's a big incident.
Yeah, that was a massive one there. I would have been pretty scary if that was me and I copped that from behind, because I know that I've copped that before and it actually made me jump while I was in the car. So, yeah, that was huge. Looks like Hall was in a slipstream and either just missed his braking marker, had a lapse, or not too sure what happened there. But as always, we'll leave that one up to the stewards and wait and see what they think on that one. So, but so far so good. Mario here up into P3. Curry, he's actually setting pretty consistent laps, and he's actually pulled a 2.2 second gap here over Purden. With these guys fighting, he's really pulled a gap there, but one person we need to keep an eye on is Dallas. So Dallas he's got past Mason now, 21.7 off the lead. So yeah, we'll need to keep an eye on in relative.
It's still the same. Yeah, it's still the same. When he actually left the pit lane, it was actually behind Mason, so he hasn't really gained much on Curry, unfortunately. So maybe just potentially making the move on Mason, lost him a few tenths here and there, so he's now just trying to cane it back, and now he's got some much clearer. He's 3.3 behind Taveri, but my goodness, that was a massive moment there between the Steel City MSR and the Kiwi pit lane Honda NSX. So very, very unlucky on those two drivers. They're both innocent bystanders, so the stewards will be definitely noting that. Could potentially be under review at the end of this stint. But we're on lap 13 or 35, as we did see earlier in the coverage there. We did see Aussie Taylor did pick up some damage on his car, but it's all fixed now thanks to the light damage. He did have some front right suspension damage and front splitter damage next to his name, so that's why he dropped out of P2 down to P4. But he's now back up and running. He's ready to go. He's raring to go as Aussie Taylor, or in very fashionable Aussie Taylor, he just goes for the full send. Any time that he needs to go aggressive, he'll do it right now. Green is the next driver to come into the pit lane, and Green that is a very remarkable first stint by Green, 15th to 5th at the end of your first stint with these tyres. That is a mega job by the CP driver.
Yeah, very interested to see where he pops at here with Jarman. So Jarman will cruise by the exit of pit lane right now, as looks like
he's actually got him. Green's got him.
Well and truly. There.
The speed comparison though, I think Dallas won't be able to go past him, but he'll definitely latch onto the back of Green. But solid performance there by Green. That is for position 2. So yeah, he hasn't caught him. So that's very surprising.
It's closing ever so much as well. It is closing as well. He only closed up to 0.4 there in the end there. So he's still there. He's still in slipstream range, as the slipstream range is about 0.8, 0.9 seconds with these TS2 touring cars, GT500s, both the Nissan, Lexus, and Honda, 3 manufacturers in Trackstar's TS2. Most majority of the field favouring the Nissan GTR, but as we said, at the top of the broadcast, the Lexus looks to be the favourable car for straight line speed, but I will say as well, just for an overall package, looks like the Nissan is just looking to be that solid car for the moment, as we have Curry leading the way ahead of Purton and Aussie Taylor. Mario comes into the pit lane with a 1.5 second penalty, so that's something happened on his end, hitting the barriers on his side of things. But as he comes out of the pit lane, he's just behind, so he's lost out to both Dallas and Green. So that's actually for position. So I'm going to keep my eyes on Green here, because if Green managed to jump Dallas and Dallas was fighting for P2 and Green was nowhere near it, Green has done a remarkable job to get that 232 up towards the front. And who knows, once all these drivers make their pit stops, could be fighting for the podium.
Good point to make there, Nick. We saw Green was definitely in the slipstream of a few people, as Jarma went for a bit of an undercut strategy, and just from that alone, even though Jarma had a bit of a tow there from Mason, Green was able to jump him in the pits there. So yeah, I think an overcut makes a lot of sense here, depending if you do have the pace. So it looks like Curry is just driven away up there in P1 at the moment with a 4-second lead at the moment, punching out some consistent mid to high 1 minute 3s just there. So Curry will be able to decide when he wants to come in. I'm not too sure what Curry could do from a strategy point of view. I mean, he could come in pretty sooner rather than later, but he might get caught up in traffic, but then use it as a tow. So if I was Curry right now, honestly, I wouldn't really know what to do, because, like we just said, the gain there from Green was pretty reasonable after his transit in pit lane. So what do you guys, I'll go with you, Ryan, what do you think Curry could be doing his strategy-wise?
Full send to the end. He's got a 4-second lead. He doesn't have anyone in hassle of him. Purden set a fastest purple lap, but if I was Curry, I'd be running to he doesn't have to stress about a pit stop. He's not in battle with anyone. He just sees him battling behind, changing position, and he's thought, okay, boys, keep going. I'm fighting for you. But yeah, I reckon, I don't know, 26, 27 lap odd, maybe, worst case scenario, run to lap 33. So it's there's no kind of restriction on it. He's not battling with anyone. I think really the battle is on for P2 between Taylor, Purden, Crestdale potentially come lap 30 odd. They're only 2 seconds off, but they're still not far behind. Burke, and then we need to watch the join between Green, as now Severy has joined in this mix, even though he hasn't pit yet. So Dallas will want to be getting past him ASAP, because he doesn't want to be getting any lost time to Green, as we see him, moving through that field pretty considerable. So
yeah, he's now back inside the top 10, and he's now he's the lead runner that's just come out of the pit lane. So Green running in P9, it's only 21 seconds exactly behind Mitch Curry in the Robo Sport Racing Nissan. But yeah, definitely, Dallas unfortunately just caught up in the back end of Severi. So with the inter-teammate battles between those two, with Severi giving way to his teammate. Oh, geez, looked like a little bit of a hefty carnage there between Burke and Crestdale. But I was going to say that Severi just gave away to Green, and he's just doing himself a really good job just defending off Dallas and not trying to gain any more positions. But now I say that, he's just gone behind Dallas on this lap here. So I think now, I think now would be the perfect time to come into the pit lane. I would say definitely for the likes of Purton. He's not really gaining on Aussie Taylor this time. He's actually lost time when he was leading the way. He is on the D-pad, he is on the controller. So I would say definitely his tyre wear is going to be worse off compared to Aussie Taylor. And so I would say for him, if there's a time to pit, I would do it now, and I think that's what he's doing. So he's listened to me in the head comms there. So lovely work, Burden. Back into P3 and into the pit lane he goes. That's a call and a half, boys. Come on.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, Aussie Taylor's actually on controller as well. So that's an interesting one. But we want to see this rejoin here. Purden, where is he? There he is. He's gone.
There he is.
So he's actually lost a bit of time.
Well, there it is.
So the man that was fighting for P2 in this race could be potentially fighting for the overall top 5 potentially. So the overcut for Purton's case unfortunately hasn't worked for him, and it's worked wonders for Green here for CP Motorsports. The man that started 15th and last place missed qualifying due to some net connections with the lobby. Didn't even set a benchmark lap time at all. Didn't even get a lap time in for practice. No qualifying. Gets into the race and is running a potential lead for the podium. Probably not fighting for the lead with Mitch Curry, but as I do say that, the gap between himself and Curry has closed down. It is 19 seconds, when last time I saw it was 21 seconds between those two, so he shaved off 2 seconds here. So if it's something to happen, it needs to happen now for Mitch Curry. He might need to come into the pit lane, boys.
Yeah, that's the point I was making before. If we look at Curry's times there, we're looking at high 3s to low 4s as Green there. Not only benefiting from raw pace, but the tow he's been getting with other people around him. So, Curry's well and truly out in front. He might have to manage the gap here and consider some variables here if he wants to just cover the gap he's got and come into the pit lane and solidify P1.
Yeah, and I think the real and I think as well the actual losers will be out of it. Could potentially be Aussie Taylor. He might even drop behind Purton because he's still staying out there. Unless he comes in at the end of this lap, he's still running the high line. I don't see him cutting towards the inside line. There he goes now. So another call from myself there. I'm happy with that. That's 2 in a row for me. So Curry and both Aussie Taylor get themselves into the pit lane. Crestdale is now your effective race leader ahead of Chris Burke. But here we go. What does Green do? He's onto the pit straight right now. Let's see what the gap is going to be between him and Curry. It's very close. Curry is out of the pit lane. There he is in the foreground there. That picture, that image is going to get smaller and smaller. It's going to close down. It might be a bit too much for Green, but he's got some warm tyres compared to Mitch Curry. He needs a couple of laps to warm those tyres up. But that is absolutely incredible strategy that Green has pulled through. That strategy of running an overcut and getting the pace over the others has worked magic for Green and even for Dallas as well.
Undercut, not an overcut. Curry's gone the over. Green's gone the under, but that time, because Curry had a 4-second lead over Aussie, and he's now got a 1.5 second lead over Green. And as you're saying, he started last, and he pitted on lap 14. That strategy call there from the CP Motorsports driver, mate, he's got Woodsy in his ear. I can predict that right now. He has to have Woodsy in his ear saying, you need to do this.
I think so, and the worst, and the funny thing is, he hasn't. No one snapped him up for the Enduros. This is a key driver that's running a perfect race here in Trackstars TS2, and not one of the teams. No one has actually found an available seat for Green to come through and be their co-driver. So they're missing out on a special talent in Green here, as he could potentially be fighting for the victory with Mitch Curry. It's down to 1.4 now, so. Now with Curry's tyres starting to warm up a little bit, he might be able to get some temperature into his car and maybe into his tyres to try and close that gap to car 43. And it's going to be very, very close between these two at the end of it all.
I'm sure Curry's raised a bit of an eyebrow seeing the front bumper of Green's GTR there, thinking where on earth did that come from? Surely he hasn't transited pit lane yet, but he's well and truly in the fight here, guys. I don't think we need to ask ourselves who the driver of the day is at this rate. It's pretty clear cut at the moment with Green, right? In contention here. I'm not even going to say just a solidified podium. I'm going to say he could potentially be on here for P1. He's seems to have a genuine raw pace. Not to quote Mark Scaife too much. I've been watching Sandown all day, but I've seen it. He was in the practice lobbies with me earlier this week, and he managed to master this turn 2 here to a T. I was even watching his bumper cam to get a few pointers myself. So, Curry was a bit out of sync there with some of the lap times he was doing relative to his raw pace. Seemed to stabilise here at 1.3 at the moment, but I don't think I really want to count out Green for a P1 here at the moment, guys.
Definitely not there. So Green is really closing that gap. He's now dropped it down to 1.1 from 1.3 at the start of this lap. So it is closing. It's closing pretty fast here. So Green is showing a lot of confidence around high-speed ring for the high-speed ring 150 for Trackstars TS2 touring cars for round 8 of this 13 calendar championship. We're going to have ourselves a We're going to have a grandstand finish coming towards on the start of lap 24 of 35. We're only 12 laps to go until the end of this race, so sit back, strap yourself in, get your seatbelts buckled, grab yourself a drink, because this is going to be an absolute cracker of a finish between Mitch Curry and Green for P1 and P2's Robo Sport Racing versus CP Motorsports, and right behind them, 4.2 seconds, the gap between Green is Aussie Taylor in third, Dallas in fourth, and an honourable shout out to Purton sitting in P5, slotting himself in that main series eligibility list there, but it's a long way to go for him to hold on to that position with fast drivers in Burke and Mario and Crestel behind him, so a lot of pressure rides on his coattail. But this is the battle pack we are looking at. It is Green, ever so a lot closer now. He's going to tuck into that slipstream. What does he go? He goes for the high line. Curry just starts to stick it up there. They're both holding a very fast speed. They're almost 270 kilometers on the banking there. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. But here he goes. He's in the slipstream. What does he do? Curry goes defensive. He's not giving him an inch of slipstream whatsoever. Green just pulls out. He doesn't actually come back, fellas. He doesn't tuck back in underneath that rear wing. Now he does. Now he's going to try and get himself into turn 2. Does he go for a move? Does he stay behind him? We'll see very shortly as they go through turn 2 right now. Backs off a little bit, and it's all neutralized there. Clipping the barriers there, did Green there, but he's still very close to that rear wing of Mitch Curry's car 69.
being very cautious with the slip at the moment. Not to overshoot turn 2 at all, as he went high on there on turn 1 and then cut back down to try measure up a calculated move. So he's being very cautious with the speed differential at the moment. You don't want to give yourself too much to play with if you're going to make a move. So still 10 laps to go, and these guys are going to duke it out all the way to the end. So if I was green, despite contending for the win right now, I guess heading into the last lap or so, you'd almost prefer to be in P2.
I know Nick hates. Sorry, you go.
No, you go ahead.
I know Nick hates being in P1 coming towards the end.
Of course.
These subtle jabs all night, Ryan. I've been hearing them out. As Green has taken the lead now, approaching turn 2, and Curry's rolled out of it there a little bit, knowing that there's still plenty to go here. So Green up in the P1 from the rear of the grid. Guys, this is unprecedented stuff. What a performance we've seen by Green tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Even on worn tyres, he's able to get himself ahead of Mitch Curry, but you also have to think in mind, Curry's got the benefit of fresher tyres, so when does he use that extra grip? Where can he use that extra grip to find that extra bit of tense on Green? Because so far, he's still pulling away there. 0.5 is the gap now, but it's still in slipstream range for Mitch Curry to latch onto the back of the rear wing of that CP Motorsport 232, and he's doing a very good job there. These guys are going to have some great battling towards the end there. Aussie Taylor's still fending off from Jarman Dallets for P3 on the third step of the podium. Chris Burke has come through into P5, and unfortunately for Purton's run, he's down into P6. Unfortunately, he's a little bit further back now from Burke, 2.1 seconds, who's now ahead of Crestdale. 2.5 seconds is Crestdale over is Purton over Crestdale, and then Mario not too far behind there. Sandwith, a little bit of a disappointment there. He was running very highly there, but Sandwith, the championship leader in car 15, down in 9th place and only a couple of positions behind his championship rival in Crestdale. So not the race that the Honda driver wanted. Obviously, it was being hampered and compromised with that weight ballast difference between the Honda and the Nissan and Lexus. But to be in 9th place and with no slipstream, that's just hard. That's just going to be a hard pill to swallow, Ryan.
Yeah, I know myself. I made a couple of mistakes in the 500 last year, and I was running around by myself, and that time loss was pretty considerable. So, yeah, I do feel for him, but unfortunately, that's the kind of the pill you got to swallow at the start. You know, that's essentially the testing you'll go through. You know, which car do I prefer, this and that. But although during the season, the Honda's been pretty strong elsewhere. Obviously, being a high-speed track, you know, after this round, we do go to Bathurst. So, I think, potentially, we may see Sandwith up the front in round 9 here at Bathurst. So, you know, it can be a win-loss, essentially. You know, he's lost 3/10. He's nearly 10k slower down the straight, simply because of that weight difference. So, but, yeah, it's definitely feel for him.
He's not even hitting the limiter.
Yeah.
He's not even hitting the limiter going into turn 2.
Yeah, so I definitely...
Alice of the Honda there. He's pretty rapid through turn 2, we'll admit. I'm seeing the oversteer grip with the car, even hopping in the rear there, just manages to grip up and go full send. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, it does struggle in that straight line speed just a bit. So, and yeah, big championship complications here. No, we've seen how bad the time penalties around here. Sandwith got that 1.5 penalty, and that was enough for him to not only lose in touch with the pack, but put him down to P9. And even Mario himself, I did notice he transited pit lane with that 1.5 second penalty. So even though coming through the pits there and getting up to speed through the first 3/4 of the track, despite that on his outlap, he served that 1.5 second penalty. So that's something to note, even for the main series as well. If you do get a time penalty and transit pit lane, you still got to serve it as you're on your outlap.
Yeah, I think as well, in regards to the championship, Crestdale is only 2 positions in front of Sandwith. Lamb isn't racing, so there is 29 points gap between Sandwith and Crestdale, but at the moment, as that stands, that is really going to close. So, you know, I do feel for Sandwith, but at the same time, you know, he may bounce back quite considerably at Bathurst. I'll call it now. I'll put my early Monopoly money on Sandwith for next round at Bathurst. So keep an eye on that car, because it was strong at Bathurst last year. You know that yourself, Nick. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. But yeah, you know, Honda, not the car here. Obviously, we do have where we got Van Vuren and Mason down the bottom in the Honda. So you can see even them as well. They are struggling for pace. So a bit unfortunate, but yeah, it's a pill you got to swallow. So, but Curry here. Wonder if he's going to make it on fuel or if he's going to run out. That's going to be the question. I didn't know what the fuel usage was like.
I think they might be alright with fuel. They definitely would have timed that to get as little fuel as they can into their tank so they can get this really close run there. But he's not giving up here, Curry. He's, like I said, he's got the tyre grip. He's using it to his advantage. He's really closing up on green. The last time we saw it was definitely 5:10, so they haven't broken that 1 second barrier. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I'm getting some early 2013 Bathurst 1000 final lap vibes between Green and Curry for the last few laps there. These guys haven't dropped to less than a second for about, I would say, for about at least 5-6 laps or in a row that they haven't gone over that 1 second barrier when Green actually made the pass. It hasn't dropped at all, so these guys are going to be duking it out for the last 5 laps of this race here. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Who's going to win this? Let us know in the comments below. Who have you got your Monopoly money on to take victory in this 35 lap race? Will Green go from last to first and take victory tonight, or will Curry go from lights to flag, pole position to victory lane? We'll find out very soon, but it is those two in the Nissan. First and second, Aussie Taylor holding off Jarman Dalitz in 4th place. Then we have Chris Burke behind in 5th. Purton is right behind him now in 6th place, so this is not over for the man from PAG Sports, yet to get himself main series eligibility. He's hoping and begging for Chris to make a mistake, say, please, just give me a main series eligibility. I need this. I need this for the life of me. Please, Burke, do something good for me. We'll wait and see what happens there. But as we go back, we see DP Mario ahead of Crestel. He just made that move at turn 4, so Crestel drops to 5th. Sandwith not too far, is a bit of a gap behind in 9th place. And Hedges rounds out the top 10, 7.8 behind Sandwith in 10th place. Then we have Matt Hall in 11th. Stephen Silvestro Severi rather in 12th place. Mackenzie in 13th after getting that big whack and big shunt with Matt Hall a few laps ago. And then we have Van Vuveren and Mason rounding up your 15 drivers tonight, but we do have to cut back to the front. It is so close between these two drivers. Where are they going to be finishing themselves at the conclusion of this race here? But one battle pack we do need to keep an eye on is this one, the battle for 5th place. Burke versus Burton. Who gets the line honours? Who takes that coveted 5th spot in the Trackstars TS2 High Speed 150? We've only got ourselves we're nearly 3 laps to go to the end of this. This is going to be close for the battle for 1st, battle for 3rd, and even the battle for 5th, boys.
I have to mention Aussie Taylor here, underrated player so far tonight. I know I haven't mentioned him much, but he's putting on a ripper job at the moment. Even getting tangled in some drama, he's managed to recover that car and currently running P3. And keep in mind, boys, we have been talking about Crestel and Sandwith and even Lamb, who's absent tonight. Aussie Taylor only 30 points adrift of Crestel, who's currently sitting in P3 in the championship. So looks like Aussie's going to take a decent chunk of points tonight and perhaps make himself a contender and play into overall honours here in TS2.
Not only that, as well, P3 to P8 too. So the person in front of him is Crestel. So as much as he's going to close that gap, it's going to be very close up the front, mate. I don't think this battle for the championship is going to stop until the end of the season. Obviously, we don't have Liam either, so throw Liam into the mix of this. This just spices it up even more. But mate, honestly, this could really go either way, and I see a 4-second gap here. So I think Curry may have got a penalty. So he's got a 105 there.
5 right there.
Yeah, so he's dropped off the back of Green. So very unfortunate there. He probably got a 1.5 second penalty, as always, and then he dropped back unfortunately. But I think Purden, bouncing back on the back of him, I think he's just buying his time at the moment, waiting for lap 35 there, around turn 6. In saying that, nearly went for a move there on Burke on the exit of 1. But yeah, this is going to get very exciting come lap 35 there.
Seems as though Curry was playing a similar strategy there, Ryan. It almost seemed too good to be true how Green was able to jump Curry there earlier in the race, but with that time penalty, he's probably kicking himself now. He probably knew he had a bit of tyre grip under his belt, and preferably P2 leading into the last lap. So that's devastating for Curry, but Crestdale here, tangling up here with Mario at the moment. Right here in the sleep, guys. There's so many battle packs to keep an eye on. You don't know where to put your eyes at the moment.
No, absolutely. Like, I think for Crestdale's case, he needs to get past DP Mario if he wants to get himself those few extra valuable points over Sandwith, because he's only going to gain one position on Sandwith at the end of this race if it stays as it is. But we are on the final lap there. I see on the leaderboard, Jarman Dowds has made the move on Aussie Taylor. Has he done that before the turn 2 corner? Yes, he has. So he's gone past Aussie Taylor. He's made the move into turn 1. There's lap traffic in the way there, so it's going to compromise, and Aussie Taylor might have a chance. No, he doesn't. He just had to pull back a little bit. Didn't want to get too close to the back end of the It's Racing Esports car. But as we cut ourselves onto we are on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen. Green. What a remarkable story it has been for this man here. Missed qualifying, didn't get any practice laps at all, and when the race that it counts the most, from last place to first, the victory goes for car 232 in green. Big congratulations to the man from CP Motorsports. Well done. Mitch Curry will hold on to a 1.5 second penalty there. Hopefully that doesn't ruin his chances. Dallas takes third, Aussie takes 4. Patton has taken P5. Ben Burton has taken P5 for PH Esports. Wow, that is a great finish for the man. And that is the leader of PH Esports. Brought that team into fruition in the beginning of the Trackstars TS2 and gets himself a reward in position 5. I have to say for myself, Ben Burton, that is a main series eligibility tick next to your name, my friend. Big congratulations to you. Wow. What a last lap for him.
Wow, I want to feel whatever Green and Perth are feeling right now. I'm sure their fist pumping so hard, going to dislocate a shoulder there. My God, geez, the emotions must be running high for Perth and Green as well. Little would he think he would actually win this race. When you're at the back of the grid like that, what are the odds you're thinking to yourself, I think I could possibly go for a win here?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think of that at all. No way, not me. I would potentially think Red one. But Green, no. But I mean, like I said before the race started, my goodness, what could have been? And that was close quarters there for Mitch Curry. There, he just crashed into the barrier with a 1.5 second penalty next to his name. Almost lost out P3, P2 to Dallas as well. So that was a bit of a risky. That was a bit risky there from you, Mitch Curry. Unlike you, my friend. But yeah, he still holds on to P2. A valiant effort by those two drivers, putting on a grandstand finish. Unfortunately for Mitch Curry, did have to serve that 1.5 second penalty, and he just came through the team's radio chat as well. He had to fuel save in those last lap as well, boys. So unfortunately, he just couldn't manage the fuel towards the end there. So that's why he dropped so far back behind Green. But Dallas comes through, takes P3, the final step of the podium, denies Aussie Taylor that podium position. He still does a remarkable job one-upping his rivals in the championship in both Crestdale and Sandwich. So big points will go to Aussie Taylor's car 420. But I would think the man of the match, if it's not Green, it's definitely Burton in the top 5 for the first time in Trackstars TS2. Gets himself that main series eligibility. He's going to be knocking on team managers' doorsteps and say, "Can I drive enduros, please?"
Fastest lap as well. But in saying that, I am messaging Green at the moment. So Green, if you're listening, mate, you should be able to see the chat now. So if you want to jump in, come in, and we'll give you a bit of an interview. But yeah, what a drive, mate! That was absolutely phenomenal. Not one part of me I thought Green probably would have made top 5. I had no idea that he was going to make that. That was absolutely incredible. But Purden, main series eligibility, congratulations, mate. Fantastic. And fastest lap too, mate. Take that. It's not by much, but fastest lap is fastest lap here. But yeah, mate, solid drive there. That was absolutely phenomenal. Hats off to you, mate. That's got to be drive of the day. No questions asked at all.
Yeah, let's save ourselves some time there, boys. We don't really need to ask who the drive of the day is. Both Burton and Green, that was absolutely sensational. I'm a little bit lost for words here, to be honest. I think the only time I've ever thought I'm on for a win starting in very last position is probably single player, to be honest. So I'm just, the odds of that are so slim, but Green really redefined what that can do. So, who knows? Maybe starting last on the grid might be favourable for the upcoming Enduros.
It's going to be a long race for 115 laps next next weekend, so it's going to be absolutely amazing to see what the strategies are for the main series. But like you said, it is time to give out our Trackstars Driver of the Day, and I think we can all agree it's either Purton or it's either Green, but I'm going to have to give it to Green. Last to first, what a driver! The man that defies odds, doesn't do any practice laps, doesn't get a lap in qualifying, has to start everything from scratch, and he claws his way from last place on the grid to first with a great move on Curry in turn one. Curry could do nothing but just wave goodbye to that victory, and what a performance by the CP driver.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal drive there, but hats off to Aussie Taylor too. He's done a fantastic job there, coming across in P4. We haven't seen him have a good one at the moment. He's had a bit of a bad run, but yeah, coming through, he's done a bit of a solid job here. So yeah, that was fantastic there by Aussie too from the WTC driver. Unfortunately, we can't see him next weekend. I'm just in the process of trying to get Green in here, but he obviously can't navigate his way around the Discord properly. But if you are here, just join one of the other chats and I'll drag you in. But yeah, man, that's absolutely phenomenal. That's hats off to you. I'll spray you with champagne, mate. Give me that bottle and I'll spray you just for that one.
Definitely. That would be absolutely amazing if you could. I would love to have a word with him just to see what he could do and just how he did it. But as we say that, he's actually now joined us in the commentary box. I think he's got his microphone muted, but if he unmutes himself.
Yeah. You might need to take a few breaths, lads. I think after that one, the heart rate's going to be through the roof.
So we'll wait and see as we get himself up his microphone up and running. But Chris, I'll have to say to you as well, what a race that was throughout the whole field. Getting everything. The field was so close through qualifying. We just didn't know who to expect to get the victory. We predicted different drivers to getting the victory tonight, but I don't think anyone predicted Green getting from last to first there. So what was the surprise package? What do you think got him over the line there? Was it just his pure pace? Was it just the undercut that he got on Curry? Was it the overcut that he got on Dallas that worked for him? I just don't know. It's very hard to know what happened and how he did it.
For me personally, I think it was the undercut. That undercut there, he got out of the way. He was putting in some solid laps too, and not only that, he clawed his way back. He timed his pit stop to perfection. Used the fresh tyre to his best ability, and then, yeah, honestly, other than that, man, I've got no idea. But yeah, he should be good to go now. His permissions are all sweet to go. Yeah, I think he needs to unmute it on his end. So,
but I'll echo what Ryan just said there before, Nick. Yeah, I think Green with not only the undercut, but as he came out and resumed racing, he was definitely within a bunch of cars. So transiting pit lane and coming in using the slip outside of having raw pace really served him well. So it's something to keep in mind for this sort of race. As you time your pit stop, you really got to notice where you're going to come out. Are you going to be in traffic? Are you going to be in clear air? So obviously for a track like this, you want to be around some cars to get that pace. But yeah, outside of Green and Purton being the players of the race at the moment, there's a lot of underwriter drives here. I think we need to give some props to Curry. As Ryan touched on earlier in the broadcast, he had surgery earlier in the week, so quite a transition going from that, jumping on the rig and cutting some laps. So despite the P2 there, still an awesome result for Curry. And even Jarman himself, we haven't seen him since Seaside, so for him to come back and put on an awesome performance like that, to shake off rust like that, is awesome for him and his confidence as well.
There we go. Yeah, now we got him here.
You got me? There we go.
So now we have the man that did the impossible here, Trackstars Touring Cars for the TC2 High Speed Ring 500 from last place with no qualifying laps at all, not even getting any laps in practice, to go from last to first. Green from CP Motorsports Car 232. How are you feeling after that incredible race?
I'm shaken. I did not expect that at all. I knew my pace was good, but it was just coming through the field. I didn't know if there was going to be just a massive slipstream train or not. So yeah, I'm so surprised.
What were you thinking as you come out of pit lane there? And you saw Curry not too far in front of you there. What were your thoughts at that stage?
So I'll backpedal a bit. So as I was coming through the field, I got up to, I think it was the top 5, and I seen all 3 of them battling, and I seen also It's Racing, he boxed, and I thought, oh, I might be on here because I can get the slipstream off them, make up the gap, and then I can see if I can overcut Dalitz. And as I came through, I got the good slipstream, and then pulled in as soon as I was getting on the back of him, pulled into the pits, and when I came out, I was looking at that Delta, and I seen it starting to come down further and further, and I'm like, I'm on here. And then I seen Mario come out, and I overcut him, and I'm like, I think I'm on a good chance here. And then when Curry came out, I thought, righto, I'm on here, because I knew in clean air my pace was better, and all I had to do was just nail some consistent laps, and I was just doing consistent 103s the entire time, low 103s. And then as soon as I got that slipstream, I knew I had him, and I just had to get in front as quick as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It just showed some great pace from your side of things, as well as like you got the overcut on Jarman Dalitz in It's Racing, and you were actually well clear of him. He was actually closing up to you on going into towards turn 2, but the way you just navigated traffic and the way you just had that clear air. Well, from one point we saw you from 22 seconds behind Mitch Curry, and then as before he came into the pit lane, it was roughly about 19 seconds. So you closed that gap massively. The gap dropped down to about 1.6, 1.5 seconds going into turn 2. It was at that point you just thought, well, it's time to go for it, lads. It's do or die here.
Yeah, that's right.
For 232, and you know, I mean, it brought you closer and closer. The gaps that you were closing in between turns 3 and 4, like on the exit of turn 4, that's where you were very strong compared to Curry's pace. And compared to Curry's car, like the pace that you could get out of turn 4 going into the tunnel was very strong, and that's how you and the gap that you managed to close in was very good. So was that a very strong part of the track that you were practicing a lot on, or was it just more about just trying to get that turn 2 execution right?
The turn 2 execution, I felt like I had a very good line breaking at the 50-meter mark, and just sort of, you can just feel the vibration, like being on a direct drive wheel. I could just feel enough of the track, so I knew when it vibrated at a certain point, I know that's when I could accelerate. So I had good feel through there, and then as I came out of turn 4, I was prioritizing the exit as much as I could, and there was actually a few times, if you look at the replay, I actually had a few snaps. I was so far on that edge, but prioritizing exit on turn 4 just gave me the perfect run all the way down the main straight back into turn 1, so that turn 4 was actually so critical.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan and I don't know anything about direct drive wheels, so you know, I'm pretty sure Chris Lashbrook might be able to back you up on that with that direct drive feedback. But that's a very very interesting point there that you put on yourself there. So I mean, you know, going from last place, did you ever think to yourself, you know, starting in last, didn't set a qualifying lap at all? Did you really think that you could go all the way and take victory, or did you think it was going to be a struggle with this competitive field?
Oh, not a chance in the world. I thought I was at best going to do 10th or something like that. But like as the group, I noticed they spread out very quickly, and I thought, righto, I know my pace is good. I know if I get in a slipstream, and I know if I can just get enough and break that slipstream after going into turn 1, if I can get through to turn 4 with them 1.2 behind me, I knew I was good. So yeah, I just had no clue. But yeah, like, and then seeing Curry coming out of the pits, I'm like, oh, you're kidding. I want him bad.
Absolutely, and that's a great performance there, last to first, and you know, with you as now the master of the high speed ring in TS2, I'm very surprised that no one's come knocking on your DMs or your front door of your house saying, hey, do you want to come drive for me as a co-driver for the high speed ring 500 there? So, because I think that's a big loss amongst the rest of the field, fellas. I'm not so sure about you, Chris or Ryan, but with Green not actually not picked as a driver, as a co-driver, I think that's a big loss on the other teams.
I think.
Yeah, sorry,
you go, Chris. Right.
I was just going to say, Greeny, mate, you might need to, maybe mute your phone tonight. It's going to be buzzing with a few DMs, and maybe I prefer DMs compared to someone knocking on my door, perhaps. But yeah, mate, I think Yeah, it just goes to show the depth with the co-driver market in mains at the moment. But yeah, I'm sure if there's any issues with any seats being filled right now, I'm sure Green will be pretty keen to put his hand up. And I just wanted to ask you again, Green, as well. You're talking about not only getting in the slip, but also your genuine pace just in the clear air. Not to quote Mark Scaife again. Did you at any point consider that might be detriment to your race running in the open air at all? Because you had the pace. Like, it seemed to me that being in the slip was such an important part of the whole outcome.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a balance. So you sort of wanted to be in your clean air, running your pace, because I knew on raw pace I knew I was quickest, and it was all dependent on people battling. So it was just all about trying to navigate through those battles. And then as I came up, I seen the leaders were battling at the start, so I knew, right, if they keep battling, my clean air will be quicker than their slipstream. So it was definitely a balance and definitely a bit of a gamble pitting at that time. But yeah, I just had to absolutely trust my raw pace and clean air.
Definitely, I'm sure. I think Ryan had a little bit of a statement made earlier. Wasn't it? He just got cut off there, so I don't know. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Ryan, with your question or statement?
I did actually message Green earlier in the year. Said I'll be excited to go up against him in Enduros. And when I seen the entries come through, I was like, it's a bit rough there, because first out he come through and he was solid out of the box. He was great. I do know he's a reserve for CP, so if anything happens to Jackson or Dan Wood, anything may happen. But no, I think as well he hasn't had Green hasn't had the best run. Last week he came sixth in Laguna, bit of a tough one there, and then sixth at Road Atlanta as well. And then we go to Watkins Glen. He came fifth, so a fifth, a sixth, and a sixth, and now a round win. So it's got to be hats off to that one. But not only that, he pulled a Peter Brock or a Chaz Mostert, mate, last to first. What more do you want? Hats off and spray the champagne, mate.
Thank you, mate.
That's all you want. But no, solid work, mate. And yeah, I'll be definitely. If not, mate, watch out for 2024 main series. That's going to be a bit of a worry if we do see him up there. I'm probably going to be a bit worried if you do see him there, but yeah, we'll wait and see. But on that, boys, I think that was a solid round 8 there from High Speed Ring.
Absolutely, what a round it's been! What a night it's been! It's been the pre-race event for what is going to be an exciting Trackstars Touring Cars High Speed Ring 500 next weekend. So join us for qualifying and the top 10 shooter. They'll be broadcasted to you on the Trackstars Racing Series YouTube channel next week. So it's going to be a lot of racing happening with the reintroduction of the Porsche Cup, a mini series with the Porsche Cup coming along to play as a support category for the weekend of the enduro events. And I do like to thank our special guest commentator in Chris Lashbrook, for joining us here tonight. So hopefully you enjoyed the coverage as much as we did. And I'd like to give a big shout out there to Green for taking his time, jumping into the commentary box, giving a little bit of a post-race interview there. And that is definitely going to be etched in the history books as probably one of the best drives that I've probably called and witnessed in Trackstars TS2 from last to first, not even setting a qualifying lap there, and the strategy just working to perfection. The strategy, the speed, the lines that you were taking, the grip that you had in that car on the fresh medium tires. You just had the whole lot, mate, and that's just definitely going to go as high on the list as one of the best TS2 races I've ever called in Trackstars.
Oh, thank you so much, mate. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm here to put on a show. I don't care what position I get. I'll go as hard as I can and just race clean, race hard, and yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that was good there. But yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote there for round 8, ladies and gentlemen. As always, yeah, as Nick said, thank you to Chris in the guest broadcast here for us at round 8 for High Speed Ring. The other thing is, we've got Motor Motion as well, Surefire Supercar Series on Tuesday night. We'll be live at 8 PM. That'll be live from Autopolis short course there. So obviously we'll have Nick driving, and then obviously some other drivers here. So Chris will be joining me for commentary on that one. That'll be a me and Chris show. So that one there is on Tuesday night from 8 o'clock, and then we got practice during the week, qualifying for the High Speed Ring 500 Friday night, top 10 shootout Saturday, which will be live streamed, and then obviously the 500 race on Sunday. But as always, like, subscribe, share it around to your ladies and gentlemen, to your family, friends, and anyone else who's interested. But that's all she wrote for round 8, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, we'll be live again on Saturday for the High Speed Ring 500. I'm pretty sure that's in the afternoon. I think it's around lunchtime. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. But thank you, gents, for joining me as always in the combox. Nick, obviously, our usual Sunday shenanigans, and then Chris jumping in too. But yeah, hats off, boys, and I think we deserve a drink for that one.
Absolutely. Yep, I'm going to need to wind down myself, and I wasn't even in the car there. So thanks for having me again, Ryan and Nick. Nick, seems like your advice paid off for last week, mate. Got myself hydrated here, all ready to go, and got through that in one piece. So, no, thank you for having me again, guys. And yeah, look forward to Motor Motion debut with you on Tuesday evening, Ryan. So yeah, no, thanks again, guys. And yeah, hopefully I can keep up my appearances here in the combox with the two goats in Nick and Ryan, as always.
Mwah. But
So
yeah.
on behalf of myself, Nick Patasso, Chris Lashbrook, Green, your victor here for the High Speed Ring 150, and Ryan Palmer, the streamer and a fabulous commentator, bringing us all the action here on Tractors Racing Series. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next weekend for the main event, which is the High Speed Ring 500. But for us and the TS2 boys, we'll catch you guys